So, to let you in on my process here, I have quite a few interviews that I sit on, and in between the time of publishing one episode to the next, I kind of wait and see which one is really calling my name. And this one was screaming my name. It speaks so deeply to the process I'm going through right now and the process that I see a lot of people resonating with. Maybe you're going through it yourself or you're feeling the whispers of it trickling in. So this week's episode is an interview with my friend Hope, formerly known as Danika Gisvold. I have an interview with her that I have linked in the show notes that was all about owning who you truly are. And this episode is about her experience of completely letting go of everything she thought she was. And I think about those times in our lives, I know I've felt this, where I want to just forget everything, leave town, either pack up my shit or sell it and change my name, delete all the contacts on my phone and just start completely clean, just fresh slate. And very few of us actually do it. Well, Hope did. So some highlights from this episode. Why Hope changed her name from Danika and why she moved from her home and community in Austin all the way to Washington State on a plot of land where she's basically learning to be self-sufficient. Hope's journey and lessons of being literally thrown in the mud and feeling her entire identity, or as she said, her face being ripped clean off her body during a dieta in Peru. This happened in an ayahuasca ceremony. It's a great story, a lot of visuals here. Why Hope got off social media. And we talk about this shared experience of social media sucking our life force out of us and reinforcing egoic illusions. And why, despite finding great success, Hope decided to stop serving plant medicine and take a complete sabbatical from all work. This journey is one hell of a journey. It's inspiring and enlightening, to say the least. So normally at this point, I'd say if you want to connect with Hope, you can find her stuff in the show notes, but there will be no connections, no socials in the show notes for this episode. In fact, I challenge you and myself to not go on social while listening to this episode. If you would like to show my podcast your support, best thing you can do is leave a review on your platform or a rating, and to subscribe and share with a friend. Welcome to the School of Whispers podcast. This is your host, Stephanie. I'm a licensed acupuncture physician and herbalist with a background in psychology, health sciences, and exercise physiology. Within my own spiritual awakening, I found myself learning pivotal lessons when I got myself to be in silence. Within that silence, the whispers came through. This is my sacred space of vulnerable storytelling where my guests and I share about the magic that comes from a life of following these whispers. I'm grateful you made it here, and I hope this show inspires you to live a life of following your own whispers. Let's get into the show. Hope, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. I am so excited and so grateful to be talking again and just in this sort of space here together.
Thank you for having me. And it's such an honor and privilege to be here with you, and especially as the new, more aligned version of myself. Meaning,
Fussy.
not Danika, but Hope.
Yeah, actually, let's start there because as I'll share in the intro, I'll share with everyone that we have another episode together, but really just a whole new paradigm is happening here. So if you can reintroduce yourself and maybe share why you changed your name. And also I would love a question I'm asking everyone now is what do you stand for? So I'd love to hear that too.
Beautiful questions. Yeah, so it's actually pronounced Hoep, but that's the only person that calls me that is my husband. Um, so I just tell other people it is hope, but that came through under the medicine that it's pronounced Hoep. And how that name came through. But I just tell everyone Hope because I'm not gonna, I don't want to explain to people how to mention it. So just call me Hope. My horse Hope that I actually had, my Percheron, she died last January. She had a seizure. And after she passed, I had my cat that passed 2 days before her, and then my other horse 3 months before. So having three lovable animals, especially horses, they run so deep into my heart and soul. Is losing a family member. It really took a toll on me. And I started working with my animal communicator to talk to them. And her name is Carol. She is so blessed and like talented, these conversations that she has with your pets. And she also teaches how to connect to animals yourself. But I had started working with Iboga with my macro doses at home, and the download came in that my name is Hope. And it was after, she had passed. And I knew I was going to change my name because when I first sat with Iboga and, the big ceremonial dose 4 years ago, I was told my name is going to change. Don't know what it's going to be, but my name will change one day. And I just said, okay, just in the back of my head, knowing, all right, my name is going to change one day. I don't know what. And then, 4 years later, or I guess 3 years later at that point, it came in and that's my name. And during the animal reading, my horse Hope was saying, she's the one that said it's pronounced as Hoep. And then when I kept sitting with Iboga and then with ayahuasca, um, yeah, it just kept coming louder and louder. Like this is your name now. And even when I say Danika, it doesn't even resonate. It's just not who I am. It's this Hoep. Yeah.
That's
And your other question, what is something that what was it that something I stand for?
or what do you stand for? Yeah.
It's such a broad question. And
Mhm.
as we've been, it's saying that the first initial words that came into was neutrality, slowing down, stillness, and why those words came through, because I feel like that's something I'm truly trying to embody. It comes in that, and through neutrality, that's the place where it comes into full acceptance, full accept of beingness, and then that I am. And not being pulled this way or that way. And so I think like that's something that I'm working towards and embodying more is that
Mm.
those words.
Oh, that's beautiful. Same. Same here. It's like I'm still trying to figure out if I fully feel this way, but I've come to just realize that, oh, I used to think this dimension was about polarity, but no, it's actually neutral. It's my mind that has chosen polarity, and it's just the path. The path is from polarity returning to neutrality. So I'm like looking at the world like, shit. I don't think it's as polar as I thought it was.
Yeah, and and you're right, the mind, the way that we think, definitely brings us into these judgments, into these thoughts. And my clairvoyant teacher, Dave, that I've been getting reading. I don't know if have you worked with Dave?
I haven't, but I mean, you, Troy,
I know I
Joe,
talk
Mo,
about
I
him.
know.
I love him so much. He's been my teacher for 5 years, and I've been in his courses too to work on my own clairvoyance. This is all it's about is neutrality, but in order to do that, we have to look into both ends where we've been both sides, past life, this life, and then also within the own nervous system. I find, at least within myself, I can't come to a place of neutrality until I actually meet that part in my nervous system why I'm being pulled to this trigger. And when I start to feel that and discharge it, then I'm able to now come more into that neutrality. But there's so many different roads to getting to that place.
Mhm. Mhm. So you have been on a 9 month sabbatical from work. Well, you were on one and now you've returned back. How long has it been since you got off social media? About 9 months as well?
April is when I stopped working and got off social media. It was actually when I came back from my first dieta with ayahuasca in
Oh,
the
that's
jungle.
which herb did you work with?
I can't honestly remember the name. I wanted Bulbansana, but it wasn't the one. They gave me one because of my intention when I went there was I'm trying to get pregnant. Like that I've been
Was
preparing my body. And so they gave me something to help warm the womb.
was it ubos?
Honestly, the word it's not even like coming
Yeah.
to my mind. And I'm sure that plant was working, but it was really the work that I was doing with Mamacita was the one that kicked my ass and changed and changed everything. As you know, you've done dietas, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've worked with ayahuasca for many years. My spiritual awakening was with Mama, but this was the first time sitting with indigenous in Peru on their land, and I can just say, at least from my own experience, it's a game changer. It's
absolutely.
it's very intense.
Yeah. So actually I think that's a beautiful place to go to because yeah, that, I mean that shifted me from who I was into like I feel like it made a woman out of me in a lot of ways. And in terms of like my marriage, I was kind of like the beginning of the like me realizing that this new reality. It took me about wait, was it 2 years? No, a little over a year for me to really fully accept what was happening in front of my eyes. But I would love for you to share, like, so what did Mama share with you where you were like, okay, it's time to stop all of these things, and did you decide during that time to move across the country, or was that already planned?
No, so why we were going to move actually came on New Year's. So I sat in my dieta end of March, beginning of April, but on New Year's I sat with like 3 grams. I told my husband, I was like, I have to sit with this. Like, I just know I'm going to get some big insights that's going to change our life. And sure enough, it said that we needed to move, we needed to buy our own land, and we needed to become more self-sufficient, grow our own food, learn to make my own clothes. And I just like, well, where are we gonna go? And it said Oregon. And I had grew up in Washington, but it just wasn't in my awareness. I thought we were gonna move to Costa Rica, by volunteering at Awaken Your Soul, helping with the Iboga retreats. I just thought Costa Rica was going to be our home. So it was completely not in our awareness. And so that came in. And then the name change came in. So last year was a lot of just like all these downloads that were coming in. And then before I went to Peru, I was doing a 10-day juice cleanse with my colonic lady, and we weren't able to find her home. Dave actually said that we would find her house in March. We started looking in January, and we were looking around Portland, wasn't finding anything. I didn't want to be near a city. I didn't like, just didn't want that energy, didn't feel right. My colonic lady told me about this town. She says, I feel like you would really resonate with it. And so when I got back from our session, I went on Zillow, found our house, and I said, Brian, that's our house. And 3 days later, he flew out, toured it. I couldn't go with him because I was getting ready to go to Peru and I was on this juice cleanse. And I just said, I know it's the one. And we put the offer in and
Wow.
the next day. And so that came in right before the dieta. Um, I had known that I needed to slow down on work. So we get to this because right after Peru is when I completely just kind of ghosted, right? I didn't even tell anyone I was getting off social media. I didn't make an announcement saying I'm leaving work or that. I just was like, peace out. I just knew this is what I needed to do. And it was in my awareness actually a year prior that I knew I was going to take a sabbatical at some point. It was after my second initiation with Iboga. Actually, no, my first. I thought I was going to take it after my second initiation, but that wasn't the case. It didn't come in until after, in April. But I knew that I was in survival mode. I was working so much, right? Serving medicine all the time. And my colonic lady helped it bring into my awareness how I would always keep serving medicine until the day up until I would go leave, if it was an initiation or a plant medicine ceremony. And it was helping me to see that I'm not putting myself first. Yes, I'm going to go take this time, but I'm not taking time to myself even before that. I'm still saying yes. There's this part of me that wants the money and that wants to be of service and feels like I have to help someone because that was also my upbringing. It was never about me, it was always about somebody else. And so that was the first time, even before going to Peru, that I took the whole 10 days of not working. And I swear the universe loves to test you. Oh, he's not going to work. And it was throwing me person after person asking for a ceremony. And I had to keep saying no, and really sit in that feeling. So it felt really good to put myself first. And the social media thing, that wasn't really in my awareness at all. And so when I was in Peru, I only did a 7 day dieta. They had different options, but my higher self was saying that because I did that 10-day juice cleanse with colonics every day, like that was its own whole portal plus this, that it wasn't needed. So it was 3 nights of the medicine, and Stephanie, it was a death and rebirth. Like I could feel those Icaros ripping my face off. Like I just and it really was just these identities. It was just I have never thrown up that much in my life. Like it was agonizing. I just was in crucial pain, and I could feel all this the first night was just control, letting go of all of that control energy. And it wasn't that it was like the resisting it, it was just what that felt like in my body, and it just was agonizing. And it just kept saying that it was just a death and rebirth, and I'm just letting go of all of these parts. And it wasn't till like the third night I had asked for 3 cups. So, and they wouldn't even give me the third cup at first, but I said, I need to do this third cup. And they were like, no, it's going to be too much. Took it, threw up right there, right next to me, and it sent me, into it. And I was naked in the maloca, like I had a thong, like just on the floor, convulsing, like I was literally going through this like complete rebirth. And all that rest of that night was just that it was like a humbling experience that I'm just letting go of all these parts. And then it took me out. The medicine had me go outside. Well, I had to go to the bathroom. And as we are coming back into it, the guardian who was helping me said something about being of service, like being of service with what we do. And all of a sudden I stopped for my footprints, and I got right down, and my face was in the mud. It was just on the dirt. I had all these ants all over my body. And it was about, you need to humble your ass. Like it was just about humbling. Like you're not above anybody. And any time that you start thinking it, you need to throw your face in the ground, and just sitting in that, right? Um, and you've been there, you know how those bugs are.
Yep. They're not little ants. They're big ants. They're
Yeah,
juicy.
and so I'm sure there was more, but it was more of like an experience of that, just releasing these parts, these identity, these egos, these wounding. And then when I came back, I had shared where I went. I felt like there's a lot of places that can't be trusted in Peru for a dieta because, it's a lot of people aren't doing it with the right intentions. And so that was my last post. And then it just came like, no, we're done. And I just got off social media completely. I was telling everyone that was reaching out to me, I'm not working anymore. And then I just stopped actually responding to people. And then I was trying to tell my husband, because I had a Google Places, I was telling him, get it off. I don't want this. Get it down. I don't want anybody even contacting me. He couldn't get it down, but he made it to where no one could contact me. I even deleted every contact in my phone. I didn't want to be able to text anybody. I didn't want to know who was texting me. I even told my husband, I don't want you talking to me about trauma. I want nothing to do with the healing world. I don't want to hear about it. I just need to be with myself right now. And what that mean, because I would always ask myself, who am I if I'm not serving medicine? Like, who am I? If I'm not doing whatever that may be, it was with all the careers that I've had in this lifetime, who am I? And I didn't know. I really didn't know. And if I wasn't serving medicine before this point, I had a hard time just having a day off. I'd be like, what am I gonna do with myself? Like I felt uneasy in my body. And the beautiful thing about the sabbatical is I got to find out, yes, in like I say superficial matrix way, because I got to discover I love Pilates. I got into stained glass. I got into reading books. I got into learning the ukulele and the guitar. But really, I got to sit with the I am. Like, I'm not this person who serves this medicine. I am not even this person that loves Pilates or loves books. Like I really am this soul behind the vessel that's looking through, and that's still ongoing. That's not done, but social media was a big distraction. Like I got to see how much it was actually stealing my energy and how I didn't even have time to be creative or do any of these things because it was stealing my energy. And as someone who's an energy worker and very sensitive, I was tuning in to everything that was being brought into my field.
Yeah.
And then work was a huge distraction as well. All these things distracting me from just getting to know myself and just being with myself.
That is so beautiful. I just full body chills. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and being so honest. There's a few things. First, I wanted to just like internally, I was giggling so hard just thinking that you're like, Brian, here's where we're gonna live. And he was like, okay, I'll go fly out to the house. And he was just like, whatever you say, we're doing it. Like, kudos to Brian for,
Yeah, he's got full trust because the land is epic, our location is epic, but the house, as you can kind of see behind me, is very outdated. The original owners bought it. They built it, well, built it 40 years ago. So I said, we can remodel this place, but the land, this is why we're moving here. But this house has been humbling, not just for myself, but for him to really sit in a house when we're used to, like, quote unquote, very updated, beautiful homes. Like, I feel like the house has been teaching me just to be appreciative. Like, all my needs are met. Like, it doesn't matter what it looks at. There's times where I'll say, I'm like, oh, it's so ugly. But then I'm like, what am I talking about? Like, that's just a wounded part, this vanity part. Like, this house has all my needs. I get to have all my animals here and I get to be in this land. And yeah, so it took a lot of trust in him.
yeah, that's beautiful. And then the other thing that let me listen for a second that came up while you were sharing.
I know I was like, there's so much to share on this. But I should pause to let you ask some questions.
Yeah, shoot. Well, oh gosh, this the story you painted with the ayahuasca ceremony, just wow. Wow. Oh, what you were saying is, have you ever read the one of the Journey to Ishlan, the Carlos Castaneda? Okay, so in it, Carlos he meets this sorcerer Don Juan, and Don Juan in the very beginning says to him, you need to let go of your personal story. You need to get rid of everybody who knows your personal story. And I'm just listening, and I listened to the book and thinking like, wow, that's pretty extreme. Maybe I think I understand the metaphor behind it is let go of the story, let go of who you think you are. But like you literally took that and ran. Like you literally like
It's actually true. I actually ended all my friendships as well. So it was actually ending clients, well, not all, but most the people that were close to me, because I was seeing how these are codependent. This is transactional. This is not actually in alignment anymore. And it's not to judge anyone. It just wasn't, it just, it's not in alignment with where I feel like I'm currently at. And I didn't even consciously think of that. It was just something that was being guided. Like, like when I had to shave, when my higher self said, you got to shave off all your hair. This is that strong feeling where it's like, I need to let go of everything I once knew and not knowing why, just trusting it.
yeah, that's the big one of the illogical, like be more logical. It's like, well, this is what we're doing, so this is what I'm gonna do, rather than, yeah, and trying to answer, everyone's questions with logic. It's this is what I feel and this is how I'll be. That's really powerful. It's incredible. I feel so just so happy that you're sharing this with me.
It
How
comes to mind to just even mention this, we're saying about letting go, because now it's in my memory.
Yeah.
Even before I went to my dieta, my mom had given me, well, actually, I don't even call her my mother anymore. She doesn't meet my definition, of a mother. So I say my birth portal. She is the portal to bring me into here, and I'm very grateful for that. But during that ayahuasca ceremony too, that was really teaching what is a mother to me. And I'm not going to go into that because you gave birth to me, you're my mother. Um, and that could go down its own rabbit hole, but I'm really grateful for all the lessons. But she gave me a box of all this baby stuff. And I went into that box and I got rid of everything. I ripped up it was all pictures of me as a child, letting go of attachment, I got rid of my baby book, everything in there. I just said, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to be attached to this. I want nothing to do with this. And I did keep my baby hair and a picture of me as a baby, and I brought it actually to Peru. And the night before our ceremony, I asked if they had a place to give offerings. Surprisingly, they didn't. Maybe it's just not in the Shipibo tradition, but they dug a hole right outside the Maloka, and I buried it because I was part of like I want to let go of this pain and this part of myself.
That brings me to my question. When you went on that dieta, did you know? Do you know that this was coming, or was this a big surprise within ceremony?
I think it's just a surprise. Like I knew that I needed to sit with to do a dieta, but I didn't know where it was going to lead. I feel like that is one of my um, strong points is just trust. As I've known what it's like to not trust the universe, not trust myself, and part of this journey of remembrance has helped me to remember my trust. And I don't need to know why. I don't need to know what's going to come. Of course, there's some times where I do want to know. Yeah. I have a cat that is trying to get into a door right now.
Go take care of your kitty if you need
My
to.
my husband did.
Oh, you got it? Cool. Um, and then the other thing I wanted to comment on is I 100% know what you mean about how the social media, how I mean, I feel it. Like I was mentioning before we started hit record, how like I'll feel this incredible energy just moving through my body. And what is it? Is it actually sexual energy, or is it's just my life force? And I'll be driving and I'll just be like, oh, let's bring this life force with me. And I'll feel this little twinge of beep beep, oh, notification, a text message or my friend sending me something, and then I'll open it up, and I literally feel that energy being pulled out of me and put into the phone. And where it's going, I don't really know, but it really shook me the other day. So I've really been observing, especially when I open up Instagram, where does that energy go? And it completely scatters it. So, that being said, I would love for you to touch a little bit more on this experience of getting off and staying off and being off. Because, I mean, I've done like at most 2 months, and especially the detox, the initial detox, it's a thing. It's a real thing.
Hard.
Um,
Because now you're like, what am I going to do at this time?
yeah, and I would go on Pinterest, to be honest. That's what I would do at this time. I would fucking go on Pinterest. So yeah, I would love to hear about your detox experience from social media, as well as just setting boundaries with yourself when it comes to just consumption.
Yeah. Well, good for you for doing it. It takes a lot to even want to go through the social media detox because it really is addicting. It's this dopamine, this false dopamine. Before I had already gone off social media, I had a pretty good boundary where I wouldn't check my phone at least 2 hours in the morning. Um, so that was a pretty hard rule, other than looking, at the time. But getting off of it, you know, it was a challenge because I shared my whole life. Like as you know, I had two accounts. I had my combo account, I had my regular account, and I was always posting stories. I was always giving updates. I would post about my own healing journey or just my life in general. And so a big part of that, there was no more. And so I got to notice that, like, even if we go out in nature or if my husband and I go to a restaurant, when I would once take pictures, now I'm not taking any pictures. And I get to really notice, like, oh my gosh, I'm just being more present. I will say I did go to Netflix at first. With that time, I started watching more Netflix. But I created more self-care. So even between bedtime, you can be on like the scrolling. So I made sure to do stretching, read a book, take a bath. And so I just had to add more routines. Back in this previous October, though, I did get back on TikTok because at TikTok you can learn. There's so much to learn on TikTok, um, and I wanted to see what it was like. And so I never deactivated my account on there, but I didn't have the apps on my phone, so it was easy to log back in. And I got to be on there for little months, and I got to see how I was getting drained again. And I got to see how I was getting sucked back into that constant. it didn't take long. That constant like dopamine hook, like, let me just scroll. I got free time. And then I was like, dude, I'm back into the cycle already. That didn't take long. So I got back off of it and instantly this creativity came, all this energy came back. And so I'm really glad that I got to experience that so I could, feel that. I don't feel the drive to even get back on social media, like let's say Instagram primarily, because not sharing my life, it's been such a blessing and such a beautiful thing. And I've gotten to really meet this part of me of why I felt the need to overshare, why I felt the need to post every day. And I'm not saying this is for everybody, this is only for me, is that I had a big wound around I'm not enough and that I need validation and also competition and also the ego. And social media was playing into this. Um, and this is a big part of why I got off social media too, that I wasn't even aware of until I started, right, sitting with myself to see that I am enough and not serving medicine. Like I am enough just as I am. I don't need to prove it to anybody other than to myself. And I've been running this, I would say, subconsciously up until I started therapy. I knew I was trying to prove my mom wrong, that I am enough. I'm going to be something because her whole life she just called me a CUNT, that I was just going to be a checkout girl at the grocery store. No man's ever going to love me. I'm going to have 5 children, 3 divorces, just projecting. And so that was running to prove to myself. And I got to see, even as a medicine provider, that was still consciously happening, like being busy. It's like, look at me, I'm enough, I'm enough. And I'm posting constantly, like, look at, I'm serving today. This is who came to see me. Here's a retreat. And, it takes a lot to even want to look at those parts. And while, yes, I was lying to myself, like, I'm busy. People trust me. They want to come work with me. And while that is true, it was also survival and also coming into a place of lack of boundaries. And that I'm trying to prove to myself, I can serve and not post on social media, And then after I got off social media and wasn't working, before we moved, I did serve some friends that wanted to sit with me but never got the opportunity. So I did sit with them, and to not post and share, I got to feel into that new energy of like, oh, this feels much better. This is more um in alignment. And so being off the social media and not serving has helped me to get, just to even that little aspect. And like the biggest one I think is seeking validation, and just to be seen, because that was a big wound too, not feeling seen by my family and my mom and dad especially, and then feeling invalid, having so much invalidation from them and seeking it outside of myself. And I think that's, that's enough to answer that.
Yeah, definitely. It's universal. It truly, truly is because I've been doing. I mean, I'm still on social media, but I've been doing a lot of the same, especially, now that like that, like I'm separated from my husband. Like I spend a lot of time just being outside, and there's like this little voice inside. It's like you should show everyone how you're thriving because people are messaging me like, "Are you really okay? Are you fine?" And I'm like, I should just show them I'm fucking fine. I'm thriving. I'm in the sun. Like I'm looking at the trees. These are my friends now. And I'm like, but why? Why? If my friends are the trees, they're not on social media. Like, why do I care so much? And I've really, really came to terms of just the empty space that the best friend I broke up with, the husband that I broke up with, that they had left inside of me of especially validation. Gosh, there was just is still I'm still feeling it because it still comes up at certain points, this gaping hole that these my friend calls it. I love it. She says it's a God-sized hole that only God can fill. And I love that because it's true. To me, I am God. God's right within my heart. So I can be the only one who can fill that. And Instagram and social media, it's such a somebody place. It's a place where you show everybody I'm somebody. And it sounds like you've been launched where you've, for a long time now, you've been in nobody training and you just reached that new level of becoming nobody. Can you touch on why you stopped serving plant medicine?
Yeah, that wasn't even in my awareness. I think whatever was being ripped out of my face from those eco rows and whatever that was purging into the bucket was I think this identity around being a healer serving medicine. That was that was a shocker, to be honest. I knew I was going to like slow down, but I didn't think that I was going to completely leave it, at least at that time. And what I've come now, because I am, like we were saying before we got on this call, I am serving now, but I'm not promoting myself. I'm not on social media. I'm not having Facebook ads. I don't have a Google Places. It's just on my website. And if someone finds me, then it's meant to be. And it feels like a really good place but I also know that I'm fortunate that I have a husband that I can financially rely on. So I don't need to do that. So I do want to acknowledge that I do have this blessing and privilege to be this way right now. Um, but yeah, what I came to find out was that it's the wounded healer, and that was a big part that I needed to purge out in this attachment to even serving medicine. Before even the dieta, it was even coming up where, I've been to the jungle twice, I've gone and done these initiations, and I was still trying to prove, quote unquote, I'm enough. I'm enough of a healer because look, I've done this training, I've gone here, and I was having thoughts, I was aware of them, that if you're not going to the jungle to meet the frog, then you're not a qualified enough combo practitioner. Those were thoughts, and I was aware of it. And any time that you think that someone's not qualified or you're better than, that's a projection, and so being aware of it's like, okay, I'm not going to deny it. These thoughts are here. Why are they here? What's going on? And like I said, it was just a projection of my own wounded healer, my own inadequacies that I believed within in myself. And I've noticed in my own healing that I have to go onto both sides. When I first started serving medicine, I was so insecure. I didn't believe in myself. Like I would have a price and then I would tell people, if that's too much, you don't have to pay it. Like I didn't see the value or that I was bringing. And then I got to the part where now my spiritual ego is here. And so I feel like stopping to work and getting off the, like I said, social media, because I feel like they were playing in one and together, was really coming into this humility and letting go of the attachment. And I was full ready to just let go of it completely. And it wasn't until somebody found me in January asking about combo. And I even said, how did you find me? Like I wrote her because I thought she was in Texas. And so I said, I'm no longer there. And she said, no, I live in the town next to you. And I was in awe. I was like, how did you find me? Like it didn't make any sense. And she was actually looking for another combo practitioner that she met at some music festival and somehow came across my Facebook, that I didn't deactivate my combo Facebook. It's like a business page. I just don't know
Yeah.
how to like do it. So she found me that way. I didn't even know that that was even up. And so I feel like I'm now coming full circle to where I've really sat with letting go of this attachment, that I'm going to be okay with it. I don't know what's coming. My focus more has just been on connecting with the land here and hopefully becoming pregnant soon. I feel like that's my next journey, is motherhood. But it's been coming in that I feel like, okay, maybe me, the multi versions of myself are supposed to serve medicine, but it's not from that energy. It's not from that same place of seeking validation, trying to prove I'm enough, trying to being competitive, looking at other people. And it feels like because I went into that place of accepting, like, girl, I got rid of all my retreat stuff, like all of our mats, all of our stuff, was donating it, even getting rid of so many pieces of my medicine work that was like, no, just like how I ripped up the pictures, I was doing that with my stuff, even clothing, like, all right, just getting rid of it, which felt like attachment. So I feel like a big part of this has just been letting go of attachment and letting go of these wounded parts that I wasn't even aware of fully.
Was it really difficult when you learned from your higher self from within that you would no longer be serving? Like, did you fight it for a while?
I feel like it was pretty easy because whatever I threw up in that bucket made it easy.
Right.
I just I just felt, I mean, there was some sadness, more about like, especially leaving my room, like when we moved, it was like my healing room, it wasn't just for other people, it was for me. And so there was some sadness. And I was actually unboxing some of my paintings 2 weeks ago, and I started to cry. And it felt like just more of a grieving of my old healing room, more of like that space. But I was like, no, I'm still gonna create. I have a healing room still. I'm gonna still create a temple that's for me, and the healing that I want to do with myself and my family. And I feel like I'm in a place now of just allowing whatever needs to come is just naturally gonna unfold, because one of our goals was to build a retreat center. But that seemed like, nope, letting go of that. That's, at least if my husband wants to do it, that's on him. But for me, I need to let that go. My main goal is to have an animal sanctuary. But it was actually an acupuncture in December, and I had a vision, and it was showing me what we were going to build on this property, because we have 54 acres. And it was a retreat center. And I was like, why is this coming into my awareness? I thought we let that go. And that's when also the combo client, I was like, I thought we let this stuff go. Why is this coming in? And it just kept coming in, and not with plant medicine visions. It was coming under acupuncture. And I feel like that was more trustworthy, because it's not the medicine. It's coming in through another portal.
Yeah. Well, and like I know why it's coming because you let it go. At least that's what I like, especially in the beginning phases of my separation, moving back with my mom. There's so many things I hold on so tightly to, like, okay, well, what's happening right now, it's okay because I'll have this coming next and then that coming next. And it's like, what if it doesn't happen? And I was like, fuck, you're right. I have to be okay no matter what. And so I had to let it go, let it go, let it go. And now it's all kind of very easily coming. And so at least for me, I think that I mean, being with you was so powerful. I love the way you hold space. I love the integrity that you carry. And I think because of the integrity and because of your willingness to detach, I think it kind of makes you even more qualified and meant to be for all of this. So we'll see what happens, but that's what I think at least why it's
Thank you
coming
for your
back.
thank you for your kind words. And it just means a lot to even have that trust. Our neighbors actually asked me the other day if I would be interested in serving psilocybin, because he told them we used to do retreats to them and their friends. They don't do healing works. I don't think they understand quite the space that we hold. I feel like it was more for like recreational reasons. And it felt really good that I said, no, I'm not interested in that. But I said, thank you so much for your trust in me. And I got to really see, that used to be hard for me to even just like say no. I was so worried. How am I gonna? A few months ago, I'd been like, I don't want to upset this person. How are they gonna react? And it was a very clear, like, nope, I'm not interested in that. I didn't even explain myself. I just said a clear out no. And I got to see too that I've healed this part, because last year, before all this, I'm sure there would have been that part, like, I want to help, right? That wounded healer. I want to help them. I want to give them this great experience. Like, they're asking me. And I got to see, like, nope, it's a no. And also, I don't serve mushrooms unless it's in a retreat setting, and that's when the mushrooms ask me, not someone asking if I'll do it. And that is one thing I will say. Whenever we had retreats, it was always when the medicine had said it's time for another retreat. It's probably why we didn't have them that often, because it wasn't it wasn't asking all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because the way that you be isn't the most lucrative way to be. And isn't it funny how that, I'm sure you feel very centered and successful. And I see you and I'm like, she's living so many of our dreams in this successful way. And if you look at it from a classical standpoint, it's like, well, no, she's not successful. She's not making money. She's not headlining retreat. She's not la 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 la. And it's like you said, I see that language everywhere on social media and in the healing world of what constitutes as a successful healer. And I just love your story so much because it's again, like the word that keeps on coming up is just a new paradigm. And I think it's just a new, very inspiring way to be here.
Thank you.
Mm.
And I would say, like, maybe it wasn't about the money or lucrative through the retreats, but it was showing up in my combo work, with how much I was working there. And so I would say both existed at the time, but at least now it's at that spot. And even, was it 2 days ago? It was just, my mind was having all these creative thoughts about how we were going to build a retreat center. Retreat center for what? I don't know. It might not even be for me to run something. It might be that people rent out the places. I don't know. It might just be for my husband. And I remember I had shared something with him, and he brought up money. And of course, that triggered a wound. And I said, it's not about the money. Like you can't not be thinking about the money when you get into this work. Money will just come. But at least the way that I see it is that I'm just talking about creativity will come. But also I said, and he's like, well, you need to charge like what your value and what your worth is. And I said, that's an internal. A price tag does not create your value. And I got to see that because my prices for combo for one-on-one were 350. And I thought if I have a high price, well, A, I was in demand. So when you got more demand, you can increase your flow, but it also came, well, this is me proving my value, my worth. And then I got to like see, I'm like, that doesn't a price tag does not equivalent to my worth and value. That's an internal state. And I've dropped my prices back down to 200 because it's like, for instance, to be honest, I do it for dirt cheap. If but I do know that there is the what is that? The exchange of energy. In order for someone to really take it seriously, there has to be that energy exchange, or they
Yeah.
or they take it as seriously.
I'm so excited to listen back to this because what you said there about the money and like the price reflecting your worth. Yeah, it's I've been doing a lot of work on like money wounds and stuff, and it's yeah, there's some points where I'm a little bit like, "Ugh, but does it have to? Does it have to be this way?" And I know that there's a lot of different paths to get to the same place, but I don't know. I really liked what you said there. Um,
I think it's
since
about
we're
like seeing your lifestyle though. Like what are your bills? What is your overhead, Like what is it that you have to pay? But let's say we go for a retreat. If you have a private chef, if you have a masseuse coming in with electric, whatever it is, like of course, charge the overhead and then you got to figure out where is that balance of that this feels good to me versus at least I would see it that maybe this is asking for too much. Maybe this is where greed can start coming in to play.
yeah.
But then it could just be my own programming around greed.
True. Yeah, it's like, well, this costs that, that costs this. I'd like to pay for that to be able to, whatever, like pay for your own retreat or something, whatever it may be, rather than like, this is my price is $333.33. Like I've actually been thinking a lot about manifesting money, and I realized that I wanted to manifest money so I could feel safe. And that's an empty space because the safety is going to come from within me. It's not going to come from money. And so money wasn't coming in, obviously. And then I realized, okay, I want to play around. I'm just going to manifest some random amount of money and it's going to be for this. I'm going to donate it to this cause. Money has to have a purpose, not something to fill an empty hole within me. At least that's how I feel. And then within a week, I got a check in the mail for $120. And I was like, okay, well it served its purpose and now I'm donating it. The universe is like, see? This is how you can play with this concept.
I love that you said that. It brought me to when I needed surgery to remove my breast implants. It was going to be $8,000. And at the time, my husband got with the beautiful lesson of losing all of his money. And so, Brian, hopefully one day he'll share this. He's lost millions twice. He's become a multimillionaire twice, and he has lost it twice. And, because there was so much attachment to money. And then when he went to go sit with Iboga, whatever he released helped him get into his line of work now. Like before it was that attachment to quick money but not really being in his purpose. So when that happened, I had to be paying for all my own stuff and I had to pay for my own surgery. And so I put the intention out there, okay, I need the money for the flight and I need the money for this. And sure enough, within a month, I mean, I made all of it. I had people coming in for combo and bufo. I worked my ass off, but it's like what you're saying is like there needed to be that intention, and that feels like if we do this retreat center because my biggest goal is to create an animal sanctuary and just letting that unfold to whatever it's going to be. Mostly with horses and pigs, but a lot of it being animals that have been tested on. And I feel like the retreat center is one way to help fund that, and then and also how can we make a community center? Because it's not just for us. Like, how can we help our community and help other people just by being here?
Cool. Wonderful.
And so that's really you're saying, like that money. The money's not about fulfilling this purpose of paying for this stuff or having like this luxurious lifestyle. It's about how can it benefit of being in service, but also how can I enjoy it too? Because I do feel like I don't need to give it all away. I do feel like I can enjoy it on things that I like to experience too.
Yeah, that's I don't think this is the first time I heard it, but the time that I can remember it hitting me, probably because of Iboga, was Troy saying you have to be selfish to be selfless, and just kind of like drilling that into my head. So yeah, enjoying as well. I actually, with you mentioning Bufo, what is your relationship like with Bufo these days?
Oh my gosh, I don't work with that medicine at all. I actually buried all my medicine that I had and I put it in the ground. I gave it back to the earth because I got to see that was actually before that dieta. So that was actually the first one that really came in because I saw that I came into serving that medicine from a wounded place. That definitely came in from I'm not enough because I felt like me serving combo and doing Reiki, that wasn't enough, that I needed another medicine. And I had only sat with it a couple times and I went and got this half-ass training. And it always had these self-worth wounds. I never felt worthy of like serving it. And, so that medicine did teach me a lot that I am worthy. And I got to see that I am worthy to serve it, but it's not my medicine to serve because that medicine didn't ask me. It came from a wounded healer place and it came from a place of low self-worth and that I'm not enough. And once I saw that, I was like, well, this isn't integrity. I can't serve this. And so it just completely let it go of attachment. And that brings me back to your question if I had a hard time knowing I wasn't going to like be serving or letting that go. What came in was Iboga. I'd been initiated twice and I was apprenticing with Troy down in Costa Rica. And I felt like that was a hard one because I was actually going to go to Ibando last summer to start learning from them. My husband was being initiated and I was going to go to start learning on the other side. And I said no to that trip. And I said, nope, we're letting go of that. And I do feel like that was a hard one to let go of, even though I was waiting for that time to even for my higher self or the medicine to say like, okay, it's time for you to start serving. I wanted to do it right because I knew I got into combo and bufo from a very wounded, quick place. And so I was like with Iboga, I want to do this right. I still don't know if I'll serve that. I honestly, I have no idea. In my dieta, though, that was a message that came through. Mama said that I need to become a mother first in order to understand how to hold God's children. Like until I am a physical mother, because right now I'm in the maiden, the mother's not born, I can't even know how to hold people in that medicine. And so I felt like that was a really like, oh, like that's so true, Like, how can I hold God's children unless I know how to hold my own children? And so I think it's more of just trusting and letting go. And I feel in a good place. Like, actually, I don't even want, like, it doesn't, it's a big responsibility, like that medicine brings up a lot. But I also don't want to cut myself off from what is coming to me. And so I feel like that kind of where I stand from being in neutrality, like just allowing what is and what isn't. But I know I'm in a place of letting go of what I'm not. And when we moved here, that's what this has been like in Austin before we moved. I was trying to find out all these things about myself. And the second we moved here, it's like, all right, time to purge some more. Purging emotionally, physically. Like the month of October, November, Stephanie, I was in deep depression. I was in deep anxiety. Like when I used to be on pills, anti-anxiety, it was that amount of anxiety. But I knew I was releasing because this land is super potent. And who I sat with in ayahuasca, she had said that it takes about a year for the land here to purge out what you need to. And another healer said that if you're meant to be here, you'll know, but if not, it's going to kick you out. And that it just brings up stuff. And I've seen it in my husband, I've been seeing it in myself, and I feel like we're on the other side of that purgatory. But I think mostly it's because I've been working with a therapist who's trained in somatic experiencing every week, really helping me to connect to my felt sense and my nervous system and just getting out of survival even more.
Wow. Then thank you for mentioning that and sharing that with the depression and the anxiety. I was just the other day, a friend of mine is struggling with that, and all her friends and family are saying, "I get on medication, get on," and she's going through a huge grieving process. And I said, I think everyone around you is kind of rushing you to be done with grieving. I mean, she's not speaking to her entire family right now, and I said, if you're asking me, I would say just chill. I think you're going through a process that other people aren't going to understand. And she was like, yeah, hearing you say that, it makes me feel like there's so much more to depression than I'm realizing. And you right there saying that, that really resonated and that kind of just hit me right at the center of that's, I think that depression and anxiety can be just that, something being released and removed and shifted.
Yeah, I see them as messengers. If I'm in anxiety, I'm in fear. And if I'm not in, I'm not in trust, but it's in my nervous system, it's in my subconscious. And also with depression, I see it as a repressed part. But why that triggered was that I was coming out of codependency with my father. I had put a boundary, at least on myself. He smokes. We're trying to get pregnant. And I had said, I no longer want to be around you if you smoke and you're not. We have actually a rule on our land. There's a sign out front, no smoking. No smoking is allowed on this property. I don't want that energy. If it's a mapacho, that's different, right? That's a spiritual connection with it versus just mindlessly passing, coping. And I said, I will not have my children around smoking because they deserve a present grandfather. And I even said to him, I said, I need to take a break from this relationship because I deserve a father who is emotionally present with me. And that is what I'm worth. And I know some parts where that can be selfish because I'm requiring him, I'm demanding change, but he gets to choose if he wants that or not to be in my life. But it felt like I needed to do that. And and my dad's not a bad person. He's super kind. He's not like, let's say, my mother, who I don't like to use this word narcissist, but I know it can help to kind of paint a picture. She's more like that, and he's more the passive one who's disconnected to his emotions. And so I felt like that made it harder. There wasn't like this big loud message of like, he's abusing me, I need to cut him off. It was more just like, I deserve more and my children deserve more and I want to heal this. And so when I did that, all this grief, and I felt like that's what was coming up was the pain around not having my presence of my father. And so I was going through a huge layer of that. But because I've done that, he's actually starting therapy this Friday. He's been reading books and we've been having emotion. I could cry, Stephanie, because I trusted and did that. His reaction wasn't even angry or hurt. He just, he got a book to understand the absent father and daughter's lives. He got a book to understand what, because they were divorced, what his absence did. And he said, I wish I got this book 35 years prior. And I said, you weren't ready. And so I'm so blessed, to have a father that's willing to do this, and he's not smoking. And so yeah, I just feel so much love because I know not everyone, um, you know, can, gets this. So with my mom, I'm not getting that, and that's at least for now where she's at, but with my father. And so I just feel really hopeful, and I had to let go of a lot of that pain. And I feel now too, he doesn't need to be where I'm at. He doesn't need this huge spiritual awakening because he is trying to be more emotionally available. And I feel like that's progress in itself and just taking it bit by bit. Yeah.
Oh,
No tears.
the dads are so, it's so special. Such teachers, and I know that you said that to him with no attachment to what he was going to decide to do with it. So the fact that he went this way is, it's really
What's
special.
interesting is I actually had a session with Dave the day before I did this, and he's reading a past life where with my family, I wouldn't go forward unless my family came with me because I was afraid of losing them. And like I was holding myself back for my family. And we cleared what he calls the pictures around that. And then the next day it just came and it's like, nope, I'm ready to let go of my dad. I'm not going to keep holding myself back because he's not coming forward, even though I've been trying for so long to say, hey, try plant medicine, come and do this. And so I'm just bringing Dave again because he's such a big influence in my life and his work. But whatever we cleared in that session or looked at, I felt like that helped me then to then take the step of that non-attachment where he goes or not. But low key was hoping that this would help, like this
Yeah.
would. Low key, it's there because we are hardwired to have a relationship with our parents. I do believe we're hardwired to want a secure attachment with our parents. I don't understand the science of all of it, but I do believe that, subconsciously in our genetics and DNA that it's there.
Yeah.
And so I would be lying to myself if I wasn't saying low key, hoping that he's going to come, he's going to change so we can have a better relationship.
Yeah, that's just thinking about my dad now. Um, it's funny, I'm actually thinking about when I did Bufo with you and the way you held me when like I saw a lot of my dad's pain and trauma.
Yeah, just take all the time you need.
Everyone's so precious.
Yes.
Well, um, we're getting towards the end of our time together. So I would like to ask my closing questions, but before I do, I'd really love to for you to share like because you mentioned a few things of what's next, but that's, all tentative down the line. You're in the process that you said of just becoming nobody, just shedding who you're not. But I would love to know in an immediate way, like, what's next for you, whether that's today or tomorrow is, I want to know how is Hope going to spend her days for the next little bit?
Just continuing what is just being with myself and communing with the land here, being with my animals, but really trying to get pregnant. That's where we're at. And I feel like that's the next part. And while the dreams and visions are coming, it's allowing to knowing that they're going to come in the right time. And right now it's just accepting that when and if we get pregnant, it feels like the next place, which I'm
Yeah.
so excited because I mean, I hope one time you can come out here and come visit the sacred land, just being in the trees and the creek. And I'm just like, I can't wait to just have children that grow up here. And I want to do a home birth. And I was like, is there a way we could put the tub in the field? Like, I just like, there's a part of me that's like, I don't even want to do it in the house. Like, I want to be naked out in the field
Yes,
like with mama.
that's one of my dreams is to like give birth by a river. I don't know what river, I don't know, but like that's what I want to do and that's what I'm gonna do.
See it for you. We're the creators of our own reality.
Yes, we are. Oh, the thought of little, just like little towhead babies of yours, just like, although who knows, that's a very recessive gene. We'll see, but
I'm excited to see, I have two friends right now where it's mixed, right? Asian and white. And both their children, these are separate people, they have blonde hair, blue eyes. And like
Interesting.
crazy. So I don't know. I just want healthy soul family babies. I just want babies that are healthy and that are in my soul family. So, there's more of that bonding.
Yeah, right. Because you never know. You never know what kind of lessons they're gonna come to teach. Ah, okay. So closing questions are a food that's been, whether that's an herb, supplement, food, meal, it can be in a health aspect, it can be in more of a, spiritual aspect. But I would love for you to share just because food therapy is a huge part of my life and in Chinese medicine. So I love to learn from others. A food that has been just just a huge a big piece of this phase in this journey in your life.
Yeah, I love that question, right? Because food is medicine. You know that ayahuasca ceremony I was telling you about in December? Well, I went in there to help try to clear anything that was preventing me from getting pregnant. Well, I come out of it to where I was like, oh, I'm done eating meat. Like that wasn't even an intention. It wasn't even in my awareness that I knew one day I would give it up. But so coming back is I feel like letting go of eating meat and not from a place of um judgment because I used to be hardcore vegan, very self-righteous, making people feel like shit that doesn't get anywhere to now being in the neutral place like it's not what my body wants. And so a food right now that's just is plants. It's just really learning that relationship with plant food. So kimchi is a big part of that. Like I am obsessed with kimchi, and the supplement that I've been taking daily is seaweed. um
That came to mind when I was saying that for some reason.
Yep, it's seaweed. That one has been, and I just take it straight from the spoon, and so it tastes like the ocean, but I just know it's so full of minerals and nutrients. So the kimchi, and the seaweed have been a big part. But I felt like it was important to say that I've let go of the meat too in a non-attachment way, because before there was so much attachment to like the veganism to where now it's just It's just neutral and listening, and maybe my body might want it again one day. I don't know. It's just allowing for that wisdom to come into when it wants it.
Yeah, beautiful. And then my last question, even I know that I feel like the last time I said this too, like you've been sharing a lot of this, but one last little piece, a pearl from a darkness that you have either recently found yourself on the other side of or are currently in.
Yeah, when I was in Peru with my dieta, I got to see how I'd been in another dark night of the soul. Like I didn't even realize that I was in another one of my whole time being in Austin was a dark night of the soul. And it was really being in this survival, this go, 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 this nervous system that can't just breathe and sit still. Um, and so now coming on the other end of that being in that survival, I feel like that's such a blessing, you know, to really be in. And now I get to be in that in a more neutral decision making place.
What are some key indicators that you are that you have transitioned out of that full survival mode?
Well, my attachment to money. So my husband and I had separate bank accounts because I grew up too. The programming can't rely on a man. And I do know that I'm not saying that every woman you should get married and have all your money together because I don't know your partner. You know, if you're in an abusive situation, it is really important to be able to have your own money if you need to, you know, to get out. That's not my relationship though. You know, my husband for the longest time was saying, I can take care of you. You don't need to work. You don't need to work so hard. Um, but I couldn't come out of that. There was such in that programming, like, no, I need to make my own money because what if something, you know, happens? And I had a lot of money set aside from when I did my e-commerce days with him. I gave my husband all my money. So I'll just say it was $100,000. I gave it towards the house to put down. I spent the rest of my money on a Pilates machine and a red light machine. And then I got rid of my bank account and I joined bank accounts with him. And so for me to completely give all my money out was that I've come out of that survival in that mode. Even now that I'm back to work, I only will see two clients a week because I work for my husband now. Like that's my limit. I'm like, even maybe it might even go down to one. Before I was working 7, 6 days a week. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 1 hour calls. Like that seems to be on the borderline for me, you know, right now. But I feel like it's also just in my nervous system through the SE work that I'm doing, that the reactions is how I'm responding and reacting. Or actually, I should say I'm more responding than reacting because it feels, I can feel it in my nervous system. I would
You
say the money
know.
stuff is like the big ones that I got to see how I came out of it and to trust.
Yeah, and then I'm sure there's other little tiny like one thing I've noticed lately I was really high alert, like really high energy, and now I'm napping so much more. So like, like there's little ones there, but the money is ooh, that's a good one, especially for women, for just the feminine in general. Yeah.
And I relate on to that one. You know, my days are much slower. I don't I mean, I have to go into town, but I try to go in as maybe once or twice a week and just really, I want to just be still. And meditation, that's always been a really hard thing for me. And it actually hasn't been, it's been the last 2 weeks that I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do hour-long guided meditations. Like we can actually just be with this.
Cool. Mm. Well, I would normally say, where can we find you? But everyone listening, do not find her.
Right? No, I would just say if you're meant to work with me, it's just going to come into your field. And honestly, I'm not really in a place other than helping my husband. And then if locally people find me, but I feel like me coming back into being of service in whatever way that's going to be, it's going to be later in life. Right
Yeah.
now, it's the focus is just becoming a mother.
Mama Hope. Oh, I'm so excited. Well,
I just
thank
love
you.
baby toes. Just like
Oh.
Joe and Troy's baby. She's so adorable.
And the thighs, I got fat rolls on thighs to me. Oh my God. Like even my little brothers when I was younger, I just like could just, and they knew what was coming for them. They'd be like, no, don't. I'm like,
And
but
the
I have to.
scrunchie. I know. I'm gonna be a total Velcro mom, especially how much I know about attachments. In theory, I'm like, that baby is no, you are going to be on me. We want to create that secure attachment. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was such a treat. I just feel like I could talk to you all day, but I want to let you go back to your thing. And my kitty's really want. If you see her, she's like pacing. She wants me to feed her.
I know
So
I actually need to feed our new puppy lunch. Our animals are calling us.
perfect. Our babies. Well, I love you. Thank you. This was awesome.
I love you as well. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.